It's the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I am your host, Brian Earhart. I moved back into my home after a 2-month saga today.
Yeah.
I am here. I'm ready. I'm home. But Nate Perkins and our special guest today, Masters World Champion Paul Oman, are far from home. They're still in Mexico. They're playing an A-tier out here in Mexico City. I'm tossing it to you guys for a lot of this episode, Nate. How are you guys feeling down there?
Well, I'm feeling pretty great, and there's a funny thing that happens on this podcast. I always claim that these people are my friends, my close friends. I'm like, oh, my close friend Brian, my close friend James. But sitting right here next to me is one of my closest friends that I've ever had in my entire life, and I met Paul. That was 2016? 2016. Vermont is when we really when our friendship really just happened. And Paul hopped in my Prius and we went up to Maine on this little trip. Paul was actually he helped start the Pro Tour. He was one of the guys who was driving around the RV and towing the entire circus part of the Pro Tour, all the wooden structures and everything, putting them up with Shasta and Dustin Keegan and a couple other folks. Zoe was, of course, there. But anyhow, Paul parks the big RV, gets in my Prius. We head up to Maine and we go on a whitewater rafting trip. And we're connecting on the music that we love together. And, over the past almost 10 years now, some of the best experiences of my life I've got to share with this man right here. He truly is one of my closest people. He's a brother. He calls me his spirit animal. So Paul, it's such an honor to know you, to get to be in your presence as often as I have. I feel like the chill factor oozes out of you and has influenced me to no end. So Paul, thanks so much for being on the podcast. And how are you doing here being down in Mexico?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for all those beautiful words. I second every one of them. It has been an absolute pleasure knowing Nate Perkins, and the saga continues down here in Mexico. Nate never stops impressing me with his skills. He's not completely fluent in Spanish, but he is getting us around, getting us through the gates here at the community. It's been amazing. And we had an amazing meal thanks to a little Nate Perkins Google search last night.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah, we're living it up down here. It's really amazing.
Well, we haven't had a bad meal yet. I was here 8 days before the tournament, and we were joking last night that it's kind of frustrating if you even get like a mid-tier meal, because you only eat so many times when you're down here. I think the Mexican food is one of the top 3 cuisines in the world. I don't think many people, would argue that or have many strong points to argue that. But when you have a mid-tier meal, you're frustrated because just down the road there's god tier meal. So last night we had mole enchiladas, which I don't know if you've had mole, but it was incredible. It was just, and the cost, I think our plate of mole enchiladas was like $6.50, and it was like 4 fat chicken enchiladas. And Luke got a T-bone steak. Actually, we had big mango margaritas with fresh blended up mango. But then Paul, share a bit about the experience last night with our friends Santiago and Vale. Share a little bit about the candy experience that we had last night.
Yes, it was a magical experience. Vale and I were talking about some delicacies, some candies of Mexico, some of her favorites, and we actually got up from the table, walked down to the gas station, got a bevy of candy. She had all her favorites, had all these great stories behind each candy. And yeah, after we had our meal, we just kind of started opening candy and getting after it, and had some pretty amazing flavors. I think what was it? The tamarindo was like some of my favorite. I think it's got this like tangy, like granular bit to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
had some really good stuff, and it was just great to hear what Vale grew up with and enjoyed as a child, and yeah, it was really special.
And Brian, it's really great to see. Paul, this is your second time down here in Mexico. Is it your third time? So you played two A tiers or two tournaments rather in San Luis Potosi. And that's a little bit north of Mexico City. So currently, this A tier is about 2 hours south of Mexico City in a little community called Cosayoc. And we're in a gated community actually on a golf course. We're on the 9-hole section of the golf course, and there's still golfers playing this property. But Paul, I want you to take us back to your first couple experiences in Mexico, and everything that you've shared with me was just raving reviews. And for me, it comes back to your expression of how tight knit the community feels. I know we get that a lot with disc golf. Just disc golf in general has an amazing community. But can you just touch on your experience as a whole in San Luis Potosi playing those two tournaments?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that I noticed when I first got down into Mexico was it had that feeling as an old school golfer, before we were using phones and inputting scores and things like that. At tournaments, a lot of people would hang out in between rounds, after rounds, spend a lot of time with people that they don't get to see on a regular basis unless they're playing disc golf. And it just seemed like the community down here all wanted to be together to hang out, eat, have drinks, watch each other's rounds. They still do award ceremonies down here. I mean, it's really it's really a special community that I think is just built, as a community as a whole. I don't know if that comes across how I'm thinking it, but everyone is so excited to come to every event, and everyone spends time with each other, and it's just I don't know. It's an amazing place to come and play golf and see how a different region of the world, you know, plays this game and enjoys coming to competitions.
Paul, I
Um,
got a question for you. So when I went to China, I met some of the community organizers in China, and you could just feel how excited they were to just push against the inertia, fighting against disc golf's growth, and try to make something special happen in their country. When you've spoken with community organizers here, what is the energy like from them, and what dreams do they have about disc golf in Mexico?
yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of eyes on how the US is doing things and how grand of a scale things are getting to, and they want their community to see that same success. And I think more so here, definitely New Zealand. I saw it a lot at Worlds this year. People are really excited to represent their country in the game of disc golf. And that is no different here in Mexico. Like, people are very proud to be on the course representing their country here.
Nate, talk to me about your experiences playing the courses here. I mean, I love listening to you describe your travels. I'll never forget when you were talking about the worm tunnel in New Zealand. I think that was an all-time highlight for me. So yeah, talk to
That's
it.
so
Talk,
funny.
talk to us about Mexico from your perspective.
Yeah, that was really really funny that you guys were cracking up about the glowworm situation. I was
You call it the worm
relish.
tunnel, Nate. You call it the
Yeah,
worm tunnel.
no, it's unreal. And you know what? Paul can actually speak on the glowworm experience because it was Paul, Kevin, Marissa, and I. It was just a 4 pack, and undersold it is the thing. Normally I like to, I like to really, really get in there with the details, but I undersold it because you're actually jumping off waterfalls into the pools where the glowworms are. So, but to answer your question, Brian, my experience down here in Mexico, it's been rainbows in the sense that the food and the culture has enriched me, and it's also been very interesting to see, like, the reality of some of these places. I've seen some grit down here, Brian. Um I was in Mexico City for 4 days, and then I went to this little Pueblo Mexico where I recorded the pod, Tepoztlan. I told you guys about that on the pod last week. Went up to the Aztec pyramid, beautiful hiking around there. Mountains are right up against the city, and then after the podcast, Catherine and I went a little east of Mexico City to this town of Mesa Mesa, or potentially a Mecca Mecca, and the goal was to go up and climb Iztaccíhuatl, which is Aztec for the sleeping woman. It's their third highest volcano, third highest peak in Mexico, and it's right next to the second highest peak, um, Popotepeki in Iztaccíhuatl goes up to 18,000 feet. So Catherine and I drove up to 13,000 feet, hiked up another three. I was the highest I've ever been. Of course, sober, but I was at
But high.
16,000 feet, Brian. So it was an amazing experience to be up there. We were right up against the glacier. We're overlooking Mexico City before the clouds came in. We were planning on, hitting the peak, but it was too cold. It was 20 degrees and it started snowing, sleeting. So we bailed. But in that town, Mecca Mecca, we saw a lot of poverty. I would say, 75% of the people in that little town are living in poverty. Maybe a small fraction of those are in extreme poverty. So it's seeing those kind of situations, those realities that really, what I have to do with it is turn it into gratitude for my situation. Like I get to come back, I get to share about my experience on the podcast. I get to go back to the United States where I constantly feel like I'm in a state of unlimited opportunity. And that's the only thing that I can come back because I'm really empathetic. And so that though feeling all of those people's like life experiences, their paths in life ahead, it can weigh me down, but I just have to continue shining my light, going back and using the opportunities that disc golf has given me to maybe contribute to their lives one day. And so this whole experience down here in Mexico has really motivated me to A, get better at speaking Spanish, and B, bring more disc golf back to the United States. Because for me, or back to Mexico from the United States, of course, because for me, disc golf gave me purpose. And in a place where I had unlimited opportunity, I still found myself depressed in 2014. Wasn't playing sports, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Found disc golf. It gave me purpose and it introduced me to my family, my brothers, on the road. And so I want to give that back to people. So this trip has really, shine the light on that even further. Maybe I can install a course in a Mesa Mesa one day and, I can just donate discs, donate baskets, and get the youth out there. And so they can maybe find purpose one day. So that's my answer to that, Brian. And then I want to jump in on the actual golf here, Paul, because this is a fun track that Raul has put together. Raul is Mexico disc golf's president, would you say?
Yeah, I think MSDG's president. I would say.
Yeah, and he ran the 2 tournaments in San Luis Potosi. He was the guy that hosted all of the international players, gave them all these amazing experiences. He's the guy forwarding the efforts here in Cosoyoc, and I got to play with Paul Oman, Luke Humphreys, and Kevin Jones round 1. So ridiculous card. And the special thing is that all of us were like looking at each other like, "Wow, this is really special, huh?" And we were all hanging together for a bit during that round one. Unfortunately, Paul and I fell behind just a bit. I shot a 3 down, which I was actually, relatively happy with. Paul, I think 5, and then Luke and Kev were like up there 10 and 11. But Paul, talk about the actual layout of the course here, and how it kind of caters to a lot of skill levels.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It does cater to a lot of skill levels. You know, the golf course here is very nice. Um, and just to have a section of it that they set aside for disc golf is amazing. This is a gated community. It Nate gets us through the gate every day, but the first day we had kind of a hard time, and we had I think we had a a Mexican driver. He couldn't get us in, and Kev was trying to help out. It was a kind of a hassle. Now Nate, he's here. He's getting us in nice and easy.
He's
But
got
to
a
have
weird way of talking to people, man. I don't know what Nate has in the back pocket, but I've seen him do some weird stuff out there in the world.
I don't know if I'd say weird. It's just the Perkins way. He gets to where he needs to go. He doesn't get parking tickets. Like, he's my spirit animal. He does what he wants within reason most of the time. But yeah, to have this section of this beautiful golf course with this really nice like restaurants and everything. There's a pool over there. For them to set aside enough room to set up a disc golf course is amazing. And and then what Raul has done here, he's allowed all the divisions to be able to be competitive. Some tight OB, which is maybe annoying to some, but it's keeping everyone honest here, and it's keeping the short holes. It's creating that challenge. And there's a couple, there's some short par fours and stuff, but everything's technical. You still have to throw the lines and make the shots. Um, so I'm very impressed with what they've done here. San Luis Potosi, Roger Shepard, kind of the steward there, and maybe, I mean, to get disc golf into Mexico, but definitely in the San Luis. Um, I'm sorry, the San Luis Potosi.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's the man up there. He got them into the park systems, got the course okayed.
How did that course compare to this one?
I would say, I don't know. There's quite a few trees out here. It's kind of like a grove out there that creates these wild lines. Some of them you kind of have to see in your disc golf brain rather than right in front of you, you know.
Say
Um,
that elevation as well, because we're 4,500 here.
yeah, I think we're around 45 here. And I believe San Luis Potosi was around 6,
Higher.
maybe. Yeah, so a
Wow.
little bit higher. Yeah. But yeah, just getting this course in this area with all these amenities and still keeping it challenging enough, but allowing all skill sets to be able to score. I think they've done an amazing job.
Paul, I got to ask you. We were talking to Kale a few episodes ago, or just recently, and of course we brought you up because you guys are homies, and he essentially described you as a fine wine, a nice fine wine, and he said it just seems like you're getting better and better each year. And I want to know what your perspective is on that. Do you feel like it's been a steady growth for you in your development as a pro player?
Honestly, from a couple close friends and old school disc golfers, I've heard it put that way. My game described as fine wine, and I think there's no better way to put it. I've always had some game, to stay modest, but never really brought that consistency to every tournament. And maybe I don't throw as far as I did at one point, but I do feel like my skill set has definitely advanced as I've gotten older. Maybe that's just my brain making the right moves on the course rather than, just trying to muscle power shots over the place. But playing with playing with guys like Kale, with Luke, these people that are very analytical on the course and can break down shots, and just hanging out with more disc golfers and just gaining more knowledge. I think it's inevitable that you're going to play the game smarter, better. Yeah,
Well,
I would
you
agree with Kale. Thank you.
we love you, Kale. Um,
Yes.
you started playing tournaments in '07. I looked a little bit into like your first events. Like I remember the pumpkin shootout. I've played the pumpkin shootout. We've played on a card together at the pumpkin shootout, but
Yes.
your very first pumpkin shootout was your only tournament in '07, and then you really dove into it in '08. When did you start thinking like, okay, I'm going to start being a road dog like full time? When did that happen for you?
Um, I would say about 2 hours down the road, Bowling Green. I made some really good friends there. Justin Moore, Josh Dobbelstein, Disc Golf Shop and more. They just had a vision that was ahead of mine. I just enjoyed playing the game. I just kind of, joined the PDGA, got a membership, and they were ahead of me. They were playing better. Always good to play with somebody better than you. And they were willing to travel, and they were willing to let a tall, lanky guy in their car and go with them. So they kind of started that bug and just started meeting more people. Dana Vici, a huge person, a huge influence in my
Hey,
life. Um, he he just brought me along. Him and his wife Ashley Vici, just amazing people, great disc golfers. And again, Dana, his vision was ahead of mine, and I was just kind of along for the ride. Yeah.
can you talk about the ride, like the early ride? Like, what was it like the first time you kind of just saw the country playing the game?
Oh my goodness. See, I would say I played some like Brent Hambrick in Ohio, which isn't too far from me in Evansville, Indiana. But then making my way out to the Memorial with my buddy Justin Moore, we drove his little Honda Civic. I don't know what year it was, all the way out to Arizona. Right before we get, yeah, right before we get to Arizona, I'm like, oh, we are going to be so close to Rancho Cucamonga. Neither of us were sponsored by Innova. We're like, maybe they'll let us in. So we end up driving past Arizona, go to LA. My buddy had a good friend in LA. We got to LA, immediately scalped tickets for a Lakers game because my buddy loved the Lakers. I didn't have much interest at the time, and Kobe wasn't playing. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of that first sense of freedom. Like we had an idea of what we wanted to do, but then all of a sudden we're driving 6, 8, I don't know how many hours past Arizona to get to LA. So that kind of first taste of like real freedom, like what were we planning to do, and then what we decided to do, um, just kind of resonated in my mind. Like, wow, this is really special, and I want to be able to do this as much as I can. Yeah.
Last
And
question
then,
before I go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
go ahead. No, no, I
Uh,
was just gonna say Dana just, carried me out to Canada, Portland for Beaver State, Missoula for Zootown. We've had some epic times, and I wish his van was still around because that thing was amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it well, I remember that van. I've seen many photos. I never gotten to ride in it, unfortunately. But, Dana was a huge influence for me too. I mean, he went to the same school as me. He literally got me the same job he had when I graduated. He worked at a park
No way.
district. I needed a job. He was my connection to that job. I worked there for like 7 weeks before I started realizing I wanted to go on tour just like Dana. And I quit the job he got me. Sorry, Dana. Um, and then I just
What
started
happened?
saving to do the same thing. He kinda set the blueprint for us in the Midwest. There weren't many people trying to do it at the time. And, yeah, I did the same thing. But I wanted to ask you, on that first year where Dana was quote unquote carrying you around the country, what tournaments and what courses and what disc golf communities like sang to you? What core memories were built one of those first big years?
Oh my gosh. The 2011 trip that we took out west, that was like something I dreamt about sitting in my high school classroom, taking a van or vehicle and driving out west. And while we were somewhere in North Dakota, as I'm looking out the window at a herd of buffalo, it kind of clicked like, wow, I'm realizing my dream. Like, it was incredible. And I think we had 3 events maybe planned out on that trip. And right before we left Illinois, he called me and was like, "Hey, I saw that there's this B tier in Dickinson, North Dakota. Do you want to check it out?" And we stopped in Dickinson, and it was one of the most challenging courses I've ever played. There was this like, I don't know what, there was this nostalgia in the air. The tournament director, Daryl Nodlin, who I'd never heard
Legend.
of, and I don't think a lot of people probably ever heard of. He was somebody that used to battle with Climo before I got into the game and made some noise, I think, at a USDTC, maybe got a top 3 finish somewhere, something like that. I wish I had my facts in front of me, but, Daryl, I think, probably could have smoked anyone in the field at the time, and he was already kind of, I don't know if aging out is the term I wanna use, but I just did it. Um, he was kind of making his way into, like, getting other people into disc golf, sharing his love for the game, running events and stuff, and that is a huge memory for me. Not only him setting up this, like, outrageous course design for this tournament, but, he just brought people in, and you could see that people really looked up to him, and, we had a great time at that event, made our way to Missoula for Zootown, and that community was just so rich. I can't remember Brian's last name. I think it's Brian Bjordum. Don't hate me for this, Brian, but he was running the Zootown, maybe still is. We had an amazing time there. We met Glenn the Whitlock, um, a famous Canadian disc golfer, freestyler, and Dana actually ended up letting him get in the van. We drove him up to Canada from Missoula. I think we stopped in Bellingham, slept on his friend's floor for a bit. It was just this crazy thing that I never even thought of, but was kind of getting this feel for the disc golf community, how everyone just takes care of each other, make sure everyone's having a good time. Everybody needs what they got, or everyone has what they need. And yeah, we got up to Canada. I'm just kind of rambling, but
Oh, it's great.
we got up to Canada. We lost the Whittler at the border.
Oh, no.
We had to turn around, take a buddy of ours back to the US because he couldn't get in. And when we got up to Kamloops, we didn't have a place to stay. Of course, the Canadian community there took care of us, hooked us up with the hotels. We had an amazing time. McCabe, Page was up there, Felberg, just like getting a first taste of that tour, seeing some of the magazine people, guys that you're just flipping through pages, reading about tournaments. All these people, you're starting to meet them, brush shoulders. Just, I don't know. I could go on for days and days, probably.
I got
But
trivia for you. I got trivia
hit me.
for you. You mentioned Daryl Nodland. I
Yes.
I've known about this dude for a long time because I remember seeing his name and I saw North Dakota next to his name and I'm like, who plays in North Dakota? This dude is like unbelievably good.
Yeah.
PDGA 7225. As of 2022, what is his PDGA rating? You guys both have a guess. Paul can go first.
I mean, I know early on he was like, I feel like he was up in the 1030s, maybe.
What's your
I'll say
guess?
1033.
Perkins.
I'm gonna guess the context of your phrasing. 1,005 would blow me away. Being PDGA 7225. Yep.
So this guy, he doesn't play a ton of tournaments anymore, but as of 2022, his last season, his rating was 1030. That's a dog right
Dude,
there. That's
I
unbelievable.
that's unbelievable. I heard tales of 500-foot T-bird shots. He had that on lock. I
Spinny
mean,
guy.
obviously the destroyers, wraiths probably weren't out yet when he was first getting going. 500-foot T-bird shots.
That's wild. That's wild, man. You know what? And I wanted to ask you about this, like, uh, as you've crossed into Masters, how much chatter is there amongst the other Masters players about like their bodies starting to fail them and how much more they have to focus on fitness and health and stuff like that? Like a guy like Daryl being that good still is just so impressive, just from a health and fitness standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, it's very important to have balance. You can have some fun, but you definitely need to focus on health, putting good stuff in your body. I mean, it's no secret our bodies start to break down as we age. I think as someone that's still on the road at my age, I definitely started to take that a little more serious. My friend Noah Mindsma, he was helping me out in the gym early on in the season last year. We definitely started to drop the ball, but I think that helped um, at least kind of get the ball rolling in my head. Like, this is useful. You can't just rely on natural talent. We need to work on some strengths to still be able to throw the shots that I want to throw. But yeah, I think as soon as you hit about the 35 mark, you start hearing the grumblings of how the body feels.
Yes, I mean, I'm 34 and I feel it like all the time when I play now.
It's coming.
Got one for you.
It's coming, but I'm hoping to fend it off in the coming years.
It's not coming
Perkins,
yet, Brian.
oh
Not
no,
coming yet.
I'm here, man. I got the blue comets on lockdown still. Um, Paul and I have had some great rounds together, man. I remember he'd come out to Illinois States. We had a great round. It was me, him, and Al Hermosillo. He had to play with two lefties, and he went into a playoff with Al. And I don't think he won. I think he was real sad after that. Um, but yeah, man, good times with Paul. I want to toss it to you, Nate. I know there's a lot of stuff you wanna ask as well and talk about.
Well, I'd like to get into what something that happened this year was this really for me the single best thing that has ever happened on the disc golf network. The Holy Shot unfolded on the Disc Golf Network, so I'm gonna say it's right underneath that. I can't take that away from Conrad, but the best thing that we featured this year on the Disc Golf Network was Paul winning the Masters World Championships at Blue Ribbon Pines from the chase card with an ace on the back nine, going into a playoff with one of his best friends in Dutch Napier, and we're gonna feature some of these highlights here. I'm gonna share from my experience. I was in Norway. It was 11 p.m. when the round started, and I did not miss a single shot. This is the ace right here. I believe this is on the 12th, the 10th. So, Paul, can you? I'm gonna pass you the mic, and can you just take it away from your experience? How did you find the zone that you did on one of your favorite courses in the world from the chase card to make this happen?
I think it's just that. I've played a lot of rounds at Blue Ribbon Pines, shared a lot of great memories, played league pretty much every week. I'm here. They got the big bonus ace pots. The vibes are amazing out here. I've made some great friends in Minnesota, and they all seem to be out here at Blue Ribbon Pines. Um, I don't know. I think I threw a shot. Let's see, 10, 9. I think it would have been tournament 8. Uh, Tricky little par 4. Threw a shot, hit early wood, actually broke the DX rock that I threw. Um, Throw a decent upshot, kind of get hosed on my next shot, kind of hit a tree, roll into a little water bunker, tap out for bogey. And I think at that moment, there was kind of all right, if you're going to make a run at this, this is a good time to lock in. Next hole, not the best drive. have an unobstructed putt, and just can a nice putt that just kind of, I don't know, locks me in. Next hole is a really finicky short hole, OB behind the basket, kind of a weird staggered gap, and I had missed it other holes or other rounds, and I wasn't even gonna mess with it that round. I wasn't gonna try and birdie it. I was just gonna be in bounds, get my par, and then move on to the next hole, 10. Um, I had a buddy caddying for me early in the week. I threw my shot on that hole, and he's like, "You just gotta get a little flatter, a little wider." I don't think the ace shot was any flatter. I thought I kinda shanked it into the OB short, but, it found chains. It was an electrifying moment because right after that hole, if you're familiar with BRP, you're walking up to the shack, which is just loaded with people. And most people are having libations and a good time. So the energy was just unbelievable. And I remember one moment, my really good friend, Shasta Chris, walks up, gives me a giant hug, and just whispers, "Breathe." And I just took the biggest, deepest breath. I should have been watching my card mates putt out, but I was kind of over there collecting myself and, just had those 8 holes left. And I don't know. I'm playing with Steve Ricos, Dave Feldberg, Germ, people I've been looking up to my entire disc golf career. And yeah, they created a great headspace on the car. They never brought anything up, and I kinda just ran through BRP like it was like a league round that I'm trying to beat Kale, trying to get it. I wasn't trying to get A's, but, just I've felt those moments at BRP where I'm like, "Kale's definitely got the leg up," but, like, you just lock in and get every birdie you can. And I just got myself some good looks, hit some putts that maybe I don't hit every weekend, but they were falling that day, and I think the comfortability of being at BRP so much, like those last few holes, it was just like cruise control. I'm not saying that I birdie them all the time, but I knew what to do. I didn't have to think about my shot. Just grab my disc out of the bag and throw it and make the putt. Yeah.
Paul, I want to ask you. I was also glued to the TV. I thought it was some of the best entertainment I've seen in a long time. It was awesome, and especially just playing so much disc golf with you in the past when we were both kind of coming up in the Midwest was it made me feel great. But uh, playing with people your age versus now on the disc golf pro tour, they're half your age, literally half your age,
Yeah.
uh,
Some
playing
younger.
phenomenal golf. And you have to keep up the best you can. What's the difference? What's the difference playing, high level disc golf with people in that 40 plus age bracket?
That is a great question because I've had some friends that made it to master's age before I did. And I remember hearing grumbles of, it's great. You can mess up and it's not that bad. And for me, and maybe you can tell yourself that in the moment while you're playing. But for me, still, I don't know, being on tour, maybe not playing DGPT events, the most competitive events. But for me, I'm trying to play the best golf I can every time I step on the course. So, maybe there are some spots where you're not getting as aggressive as you would on a pro tour event. Um, I don't know. I think the fact that I was still touring, a lot of masters players may have other things going on. They're still playing on the weekends here and there, but I was playing, almost every weekend leading up to Masters Worlds. Um, so I don't think I'm changing my game plan too much.
Okay.
And just a little bit of extra distance that I have maybe on some of the older players, like it's definitely an advantage that I like to take it into account when I'm playing.
I got one last question before I toss it to Perks again. People comment all the time how much they love the way you throw the backhand. You have like a idiosyncratic way of throwing the disc. It seems like you're moving even slower and more methodical these days than even in previous years. And I know when you were coming up, there wasn't like YouTube coaches. There weren't even really regional coaches you learned from back then. I got yelled at by Al Bingman back at my first league at Fairfield Park to not put my finger on the rim. That was my first lesson that I'd ever
Wow.
gotten. I want to ask you, who were your mentors? Who did you learn backhand from, and what did you take from other people in your area?
Oh man. I can't even pull up the guy's name right now. That's a travesty. There was this old cat in Evansville before I even joined the club, the membership with PDGA. He would critique the heck out of you playing like this little course. Even, I mean, anything like dropping a piece of trash, which you never do, but like just anything. He had played on the road, he had traveled a bit, and he just had this like respect for the game. And this is how you're supposed to play it. Gosh, why can't I think of his name? Moving on. Um, I don't think a lot of the disc golf community knows the depth of the story between Dutch Napier and I. He was the first serious disc golfer I ever met. Some of my friends, we traveled down to Owensboro, Kentucky. We wanted to play a different course. It's only 45 minutes. We used a little book. We didn't have the directory now. We just had to flip through the book, see what was close, get directions, map quest it, something. And there's a little pond on the course, Yellow Creek Park. Dutch had fished some discs out of there, and he was selling them out of his trunk. That was the first time I'd ever met Dutch. I don't know what year that was, maybe 2006 or something like that. Just started playing. And little did I know that he was going to be a strong regional player that I was going to play against for, the rest of my disc golf career. And if you know Dutch, he knows how to throw a rock, throw a mid range. He can putt lights out from anywhere. We saw that in the final round, Masters Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to have this motto. He had it on some t-shirts. T-Bird Little Heiser. That was his motto. Every shot, T-Bird Little Heiser. So I think I've got to give credit to Dutch Napier for teaching me a lot about how to throw backhands, the mentality of the game. Um, he was a huge proprietor in how my game was shaped. Um, I mean, Dana used to throw the sexiest destroyer lines. He didn't have these big swooping helix lines. He would just throw these laser slight turnovers, never leave the line. Everywhere we went, when I was in the van, he was always playing with the region's like top players, and I was back there. My balance was off of having fun and focusing on golf at the time. So I'm back with the fun guys on the third, fourth card, while he's grinding it out, trying to take down these A tiers on the road. So I would definitely say Dana's focus, his character is unmatched on the course. He's definitely had a lot to do with shaping my game. And then Kale. I mean, I spent years in the car with Kale watching him flip up M4s while I'm trying to muscle something. I don't know. Those three guys were huge pillars in teaching me the game of golf.
Wow.
Yeah.
While we're on this topic, Perkins, who taught you the game? I know you've been playing since you were a little kid, but did you take lessons from anybody? Did you grind YouTube videos? Like how did you learn the game?
So my dad had a disc golf disc in my hand in '96, I was born December 92, so, I was 3 turning 4 that year, and my dad he played only forehand. So Glenn Perkins taught me how to throw forehand, and that's all I threw for many years, and, of course, you've heard my story. I didn't get back into the game of disc golf until I didn't make the football team at UT Austin, and so I joined the collegiate disc golf team at the University of Texas at Austin, and I was playing with the cat. His name was Ben Mandelstein. He's still a good friend of mine, lives up in Dallas Fort Worth. Actually, he might have moved back down to Austin now. Playing with Ben, and I would go back to Dallas Fort Worth because my parents were there, and there was obviously a big uh, pro out of Texas, Bradley Williams, and so he was kind of the model of the the best form you could try and model after. And so I was trying to mimic throwing like him, but I just couldn't figure it out. And then I was playing with cats. There was a guy, Landon Knight, who he still plays. He's up in Dallas Fort Worth. He taught Maria Olivia a lot about um, playing. Is it Oliva or Olivia?
Oliva. Yeah.
Oliva, yeah. Sorry about that, Maria. I've mispronounced your name so many times. Maria Oliva. Landon Knight had a lot to do with teaching her. I picked up some stuff from Landon. There was another guy, Casey Wright, who I picked a lot up from. I was, cutting my teeth on some Dallas tournaments with them. Um, I didn't watch a lot of YouTube. Um, and it wasn't really until I went out on the road, Brian, 2016, that really Greg Barsby helped me a lot with my backhand. Nico LaCastro would just kind of make fun of me and like talk shit and is like, dude, you're never gonna make it. Like you're never gonna make it. And so I would try and throw like Greg, I would try and throw like Bradley Williams, and try and throw like Nico, but really I never learned proper technique. I just got to that 10-20 point by just being like, okay, I need to take this disc and put it there. Um, but yeah, those are some of the cats that taught me how to play. Um, but really, I want to pivot back to Paul here, because for me, the reason why I feel like disc golf is one of the greatest sports on planet Earth is, for there's an example that I can draw from Masters Worlds. Paul just mentioned that Dutch had a big influence on him and how he played the game. They go into a playoff at Masters Worlds. Dutch was, of course, on the first card, competing with Kale and Joe Revere and Brad Schick. Paul was on the chase card, so they didn't see each other play that final round. But if you notice in that video, Dutch came up and gave Paul a big hug after he realized he was going into a playoff with him. But what happened after that is something you really don't see in sports at all. Dutch parks the first hole, absolutely parks the first hole in the playoff. And what happens after that is Paul goes up and gives his competitor a big long hug after before he throws before he throws his shot. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Dutch parks it, and then Paul follows it up. And it's that kind of camaraderie that I think separates our game from a lot of others. There's just this undertone of like, we are all in this together. And when Paul ends up winning it, I mean, Dutch just played the best tournament of his life. He's played a lot of really good tournaments, but what Dutch did in that final round gives me chills thinking about it. The way that Dutch hit that putt, was it the
Mm.
11th? The 11th, the highs are out of the shack. Dutch is at 55, 60 feet. He puts the disc up in the air and he's fist pumping when the disc is at the top of its flight. He's literally holding his fist in the air. I'm watching from Norway. I got some Finns that are sleeping next to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm freaking out. This is crazy. Dutch is like on another level. He has ascended to Batman level because Dutch is the Batman, right? So he's the Dark Knight at this point, and he's ascended. And what he was able to do to beat Kale LaVisca and Joe Revere at BRP. I mean, Joe won 3 Masters Worlds in a row.
The story, yeah, that was brilliant. 3. I mean, we're in Kale's house. It was unbelievable.
It was gonna be one of them, right? It was just Kale has not won a Masters major. Somehow he we talked about it when he was on the pod. What happens when Kale's in the field is it elevates the people around him. It's always elevated you, Paul. It's really pushed Joe to play some of his best golf of his career. Winning 3 in a row is crazy, and Joe was playing great golf going to that final round. Got a little heated, emotions got to him, and Kale found some tough, OB early, but what Dutch was able to do to beat his card on the lead card at Masters Worlds will never be forgotten. And for him to lose the tournament and still be as happy as he was for Paul, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing that I see in disc golf a lot. It's a consistent aspect of our game. So for me, that was the most special thing I thought that happened. We I've been in tears a few times from this game, but that was one of those moments, and, I got to call Paul the next day and just relish in that, but Paul, I wanted to ask you, what was your experience like feeling the reaction of your friends? How many people reached out to you? Just talk to us about.
Yeah, I mean, I've, played well at tournaments and gotten text messages and things like that, walking through the parking lot, great job. But it was overwhelming, 100%. It started with just friends lining up on the green to give me a hug after the win, sitting in the parking lot, just enjoying it all, kind of reminiscing about like, just playing over the years, where it all started, and then to, over the days, like checking through these messages, maybe not even making it to some because there were so many. I apologize. I love everyone that reached out. I still love you. Just because I didn't answer back doesn't mean anything. It was just for me that I'm just the type of person that just gets overwhelmed by all of this attention. And it kind of hadn't really sat in. I mean, all those messages were amazing, but I just the scale of it when I got to Europe and the amount of people that were watching it on the Disc Golf Network and just had this amazing reaction to the storyline, it really started to sit in. And I think it was at the black party I ran into Niklas, and I've always looked up to Niklas. No offense to the other Europeans, but he's my favorite European player. And I ran into him, and I just wanted to say congratulations on how he played at Worlds and making a run for that title. And before I could get the words out, he just gives me this expression like, "Oh my gosh," he wanted to congratulate me. And that at that moment, I was just like, "Wow, this not only means a lot to me, but to a lot of other people." And it really set in at that moment that like, man, this is something that I didn't know I would ever achieve. I'm just out here playing disc golf and enjoying myself. And to be able to stay in contention after 4 rounds and put myself in the position to possibly win was was incredible. And then for it to actually happen in that fashion, I'm still wrapping my head around it. As we talk about Dutch hitting these putts, I mean, me and some friends, we, grabbed some drinks, grabbed some dinner after everything was said and done, grabbed a hotel room, and we stayed up until 4:30 in the morning watching the live coverage. I think, Nate, Terry did an amazing job on the commentary. To watch Dutch hit the distance of putts, like it was unbelievable. And like I said, he's been a strong regional player for me my entire disc golf career, and I have seen that over and over and over again. That man just he can teach anyone to putt. If you need to fix something with your putt, get Dutch Napier a call because he is genuinely gonna help you break it down and figure it out and set you on a better course to get lower scores. Like he is that type of person. And I don't know, it's just it's been amazing. I'm glad that the network decided to pick up the Masters World Championships. I don't know if it's gonna happen next year just because I think there's a coinciding event, but to see the amount of people, say, "I was watching that, and that was incredible." I'm so happy for you. It's been overwhelming.
Well, Paul, I got one last question for you. Thank you, by the way, for sharing all these stories. This is just phenomenal. And I feel like it's been a while since we've gotten to play disc golf together, which is sad. I feel like we need to change that at some point. But at the black party, you said your world championship finally set in. When, when did it set in that you were watching Darude perform Sandstorm live after 25 years? What was that all about?
I mean, everyone knew that the black party was gonna be hype. Everyone came to have fun, dressed to the nines. When the word got out that Darude was gonna be there, it just amplified the energy level. I mean, not to throw Terry under the bus, but I've never seen that man dance like that before in my life, and it brought me incredible amounts of joy. Everyone was just so excited, and yeah, I think UC created a moment that no one will ever forget that was there, you know? People will be talking about that forever. People had been talking about the black party forever. That was my first time in Europe in this year, and it it lived up to the hype and then some. It was incredible.
I was laughing. I looked on the dance floor and James Conrad's there and he's just laughing, laughing and laughing. And I'm like, "What's up, James?" And he just turns to me and goes, "Sandstorm live? What the hell?"
Yeah,
Like
who would have
strange.
thought? I mean,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
strange.
Unforgettable.
Uh, well, Paul, do you have any final words for the people at home that are listening to the show and have lasted this long?
You know, just love every moment that you're living.
Mhm.
Get to the course as much as you can. If you can't, just don't take it for granted when you do. I mean, just love the people around you. Go on some crazy adventures here and there.
Yep.
Just keep saying yes.
Say
Um,
yes to your boyfriend's invitations.
yes. Just yeah, this game is really special. Like Nate said, it's brought me a lot of great opportunities, and just keep going, you know? Just keep going, keep playing, keep your head up, and enjoy all the little things.
I got a couple too. I got a couple. I'm gonna lay it on. I know I forgot what you called it, Brian, when you lay it on the guests real hard. When
Butter them
like I
up.
did. Yeah, 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 yeah. But I gotta lay it on because what what Paul has really taught me, it's the way that I've always admired the way that Paul carries himself through life, right? His favorite phrase is "I'm easy," right? "I'm easy," and it translates into his disc golf game as well because a lot of times you find resistance in your disc golf game when you're trying to force it, right? And you can run into that in life. And so I've really witnessed Paul at his best moments on the course or when he's letting the golf come to him. He's not really thinking about how well he's playing, not really thinking about the mistake that he made or like what the score is, how many back he is of the next player. And that always it I'm like, I don't know how you do that, man. I'm like, I'm thinking directly like, okay, I'm 5 through 7. I don't know how I missed that putt, but now I'm two back. And it's all I'm like, I'm fighting it. And so I've really learned a lot about how to attempt to carry that mindset onto the course and how that can translate into your life. And I mean, Paul has been traveling around in a Toyota Sienna. And for a
Oh yeah.
lot of people, I think that they look at that lifestyle. There's a few ways people look at it. They're like, wow, I have no idea how you do that. I love the comforts of my home. Like, I could never do that. And then there's the people that are like, wow, I wish that I that was possible. And then there's some people that are like, that is the single best life you could be living. And I think I really admire Paul the way that you have let the game of disc golf take you now around the world. I
Yeah.
mean, you're a true world traveler at this point, and a lot of times, I connect with you on the phone and you're like, I don't know my schedule yet. I was looking over here at the East Coast. That looks pretty good. Southeast looks pretty good, but I kind of want to play wintertime open. And I've just admired the way that you kind of let the wind blow you around. And I think that there's a lot that we can learn from just that general attitude in life. And I want to close this podcast out with the story, actually, a pretty funny story about the magnetism with this friendship right here, because we met in 2016, and I just shared the story about how Paul was driving the RV, the Pro Tour RV. Well, we had to go drop Shasta off at the airport, Shasta Chris. We dropped him off at the airport in Burlington, Vermont, and Paul and I are already on cloud nine, right? Because we're in Vermont. I don't know if you had been there before, but we're in this beautiful state. It's literally called Girlington, right? The city of Vermont. Well, the city of Burlington. Paul and I pick out this park on the lake. We take the RV and we go and we park it, and we're right on the banks of Lake Champlain. Is that correct? And we get out, we start walking toward the water, and I kid you not, a beautiful woman, 10 out of 10, comes walking right out of the woods, not even a trail, just right out of the woods, and just beelines it for Paul. I mean, she's walking straight toward us, and we're looking at each other like, is this really happening? We're both single at the time. And do you remember her name, Paul?
Yulia was her name.
Yulia was her name. And the best part about it was that she said right away, like, oh, I have a friend over here as well. I kid you not, she takes us over to the banks up on this rock, and they both take their tops off, and there are these beautiful women doing yoga on the rocks next to us. And Paul and I are sitting there like, we're trying to play it cool. We're like, okay, yeah, we're used to this. We are used to this. And, Paul and I both have a fling with, her friend was Sarah. She was the yoga teacher in Burlington. And, it was a brief fling that we had with them. We went dancing with them that night, but it was just, we were looking back on that experience like that just does not happen, and now I look back and I understand it a little bit more. It's like it was the beginning of a lifelong brotherhood, and it was the magnetism that was between us that brought us these beautiful women that we got to hang out with, and they showed us around Burlington a little bit. But there's just been so many experiences that we've shared that I feel like we co-created together. Some of them being hey, if you were listening to the podcast last week, I told you about the Green Rock in New Zealand. Well, I told my buddy Paul about the Green Rock and the Green and Blue Rock. If you remember, he legitimately found the best piece of kyanite and fuscite combined. It's called Atia, but he found the best piece that I've ever seen, and he went and got it carved. So if you're still listening to the pod, you got to get yourself down to New Zealand, get yourself a Green Rock, because Paul Oman's got one. What do you think, Paul?
I mean, yeah, you brought us down to New Zealand. Luke's the rock guy. We had an amazing rock hunting trip with some locals down there. Kyle took us out. And yeah, I mean, if you like rocks, they got them down there, and they're really pretty.
They got rocks. That's a good ending point, folks. Thank you so much for listening. You guys got a round to play. Sayonara. Goodbye. Adios.
Love you guys. Thanks for joining, Paul.